One of the biggest things that we have to learn if we're going to continue to grow from everything that happens to us in our life is we have to learn the difference between the two different kinds of emotional experiences that we have. One of them is tender feeling. Tender feeling is where all of the healing lies. It's where you grow your self knowledge, where you grow your self love, where you deepen your understanding of yourself, where you grow your resilience, where you grow your presence with your own feelings. That's where we want to hang out. But the truth is, not all of our experiences are tender feeling. The other
Mhm.
camp is resistance to tender emotion. So, in that category is anger. In that category is blame, judgment, apathy, numbness. What else? Anxiety, anything, irritation, all the Asian words.
Yeah.
Inspiration, irritation, frustration, agitation, right? All of those are in that. So, what we need to know is that every single time, there are no exceptions to this, every single time you have resistant feelings coming up, there is always a tender feeling underneath, always.
Leo season's here, and if you've been craving the courage to show up and be truly seen, I made something for you. Safe to Be Seen is my new seasonal workbook filled with soul centered prompts, mirror work, and grounding rituals to help you embody your light without fear. This isn't about performance, it's about presence, and you're ready. Download it now at my website, empoweredwithmelisahepner.org, or you can go to my link tree on my Instagram, and there is a link directly there. Emotionally unavailable. Okay, so I was reading over your profile again this morning, and I was like, man, today is the day because I just got off a recording. I'm like, today's the day to meet like my people because you guys are speaking my language. And I really believe anyone who comes on the show was like meant to be. But it's also really cool when you like believe so similarly because you know what I mean. So the part on your profile that like was like yes, was when you said you bring the how to the spiritual awakening. Because Claire, oh my God, I when I had my very first like awake moment, there was this entire paradigm shift, and it's crazy because you will feel an internal shift. Um and then I had like a bunch in a row. Like, I mean, it was learning, 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 learning. But I was coming out of a really severe mental health crisis, and I was desperate to learn, so I was open. But even when that started, it wasn't until probably 4 months later when I met someone on my show who told me about a book called the Finding Peace Workbook. That happened to be the thing that really shifted me emotionally because I learned how to quiet what was happening in my brain. Because what was happening in my brain was a bunch of shame, and I didn't recognize it as such. And I like that book because it broke shame down into different archetypes. And so when a thought would come up, I could just name that. I could be like, oh, that's my royal, or that's this, or and then I'm not communicating with my brain anymore the way I was, where it was just like this nonstop just shit talk. I mean, it was awful, the things I thought about myself, said to myself, felt about myself. It was awful. So once I got all that, the spiritual stuff, man, it just expands that level of consciousness to where you're like, okay, I can view this like this, or I can step over here to the side, view it from a different angle, and it's totally different. And, I feel like a lot of the self help big people are bypassing. They'll go straight to mindset or any of that stuff. And it's like, man, there's a fucking reason you had that mindset in the first place. So we got to address that reason alongside all of this beautiful spiritual stuff. Anyway, I'm talking a lot, but I'm just so excited because you get it.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. So what are you doing? I guess I'll just start here. What are you doing to show people the how?
Well, I think the first thing just to bring is that, as you were just talking about, bypassing around it, not actually feeling the feelings as they're coming up doesn't heal the thing. It just
Mm-hmm.
causes us to cope, which is helpful if you're in a meeting or you're in the store or you're with people that you don't feel safe feeling around. It's good to know how to cope so that you can get through that situation. But if we don't know how to return to that later and then feel through what came in, one, we're suppressing things, which means we're pushing them into our field. We're holding on to stuff instead of letting it go. Also, something that we don't realize is that every time an emotion comes in, it's signaling to you that you're out of alignment if it's dissonant. And so there's information there about our path, about how aligned we are, about how consciously we're participating in our reality based on those dissonant emotions. So it's really important to revisit them if you can and feel them through because you're going to get more self-knowledge. So the first thing is we have to recognize that there's value to the emotions. It's not just a, you should do this because it's the right thing to do. It's like, no, you're going to get to know yourself at a deeper level. You're going to be more in alignment. You're going to be stronger. You're going to be very clear with your yeses, very clear with your nos. You're going to feel way less resistance to setting and holding boundaries. There are all of these beautiful things that come in when we really feel our emotions in a competent way over a long period of time. It just changes the game altogether. So first we need to know that because most of us are like, ah, it's too scary. If I go in there, I'm never coming out. I don't know what to do.
No,
Um,
that's such a perfect point because,
yeah.
like, I just said this with the last guy, is that we believe, especially people who like are grieving, they believe that if they allow themselves to sit in the grief for 90 seconds, they'll never get up again. And it's not isolated to grief, but that's the when you can get someone to actually acknowledge that that's the fear, that I'll never get up again, I'll never be the same, I'll never anything. And it's like, well honey, that's kind of the point, is to not be the same. Let these pains change you in the most beautiful way, because you're changing no matter what. When you lose
Yep.
someone, especially, you're never going to be the person you were before you lost that person. But
Yeah.
like, I have a client that was saying, well, I'm afraid that like I'll never get off the couch again if I allow myself to be sad. And I'm like, baby, that's what your brain is there to do, is to lie to you just like that.
Right.
And okay, can I ask you this?
Yeah.
In your personal life, do you remember like being avoidant of pain and
Oh
having
God,
that
yeah.
fear too? Like,
Oh yeah.
well, if I look at it, I'll never be okay again.
I think everybody has that to a certain degree. Everybody pushes away certain things because we don't have practice or
Mm-hmm.
we got reinforced not to feel that thing. It wasn't acceptable. And so I think for everybody, it's different. Like it's a different emotion or a different experience that we don't want to look at. And it can be conscious or unconscious, but all of us are doing that. Everybody's pushing something away for sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, and where I found us to be the most avoidant as a species is even just in hearing other people's experiences. How quickly we are to jump to blame so that we don't have to feel anything about their feelings. Like as a mom, I used to do that. Like you fell and you weren't listening to me. Like I told you don't do that, you're going to get hurt, and then you did it anyway. It is my belief that we don't jump in and go, are you going to listen next time? Because we're uncaring or unfeeling, or we actually want them to, learn this lesson. It is because it hurts us to see a child hurt. And so to dismiss that pain in ourselves, we will dismiss their experience. I can tell you 1,000 times it's happened to me and that I have happened to other people. And I don't think people realize this is what they do. Social media shows you a sad video. Oh, but what did they do to deserve it? Like, that is our first thing. And it's not because we actually believe people deserve to be hurt, especially in these big ways that we see on TV. It is because we don't know how to sit with the uncomfortable feelings that come up when we watch somebody else in pain.
I love what you're getting at here, and I want to take us even a step further because this is a huge insight, and I love that you've already arrived at this in your own experience. So the way that I like to deepen this is to say we actually one of the even deeper reasons that we don't hold space for other people, we distract them, like you were saying, we blame them, we judge them. We try to make them laugh. We try
Yeah.
to make them feel better, right? We
Try
just
to
try to
fix it.
change their
Mm-hmm.
experience in some way. The reason we do that is because when we don't have presence when our with our own emotions, we don't have presence for other people's emotions. You literally can't give other people what you don't give yourself.
God,
And
that's
so,
such a good point. Yep.
right? So like learning when your own feeling, and you were getting at this, learning to be with your own feelings and going, "Oh, my heart is broken because my kiddo is crying." And it really gets me when I see them feeling helpless and I feel helpless. When we don't have room for our own helplessness, you're going to rescue the other person every time. But the truth is, and I've watched this time and time again with clients, with my nephews who are 9 and 5 years old, uh, with my parents, with dear people in my life, that when they're feeling something and I slow down and I hold eye contact and I don't try to change it. I just give them presence. I validate what they're saying. If they need help getting curious and exploring it, helping them with that, every time that happens, the person softens if they choose, right? It gives them an
Yeah.
opportunity to choose to soften.
Mm-hmm.
And what I have found is that all of my relationships have experienced a deepening. The relationships that are aligned, that are truly meant to be in my life, they experience a deepening because it makes people feel seen when you don't rush them through their process. And then it gives them permission to feel their feelings, which in turn gives them more room for other people's feelings. So there's this chain reaction that we don't think about.
Yeah. That is why I tell my client, especially like when I first meet them, like when you change, the world around you changes.
Yes.
When you're putting all of this love into yourself, you're able to share that with others. But you're so right. You can't give compassion to someone if you're not able to give that to yourself. You can't
Yep.
hold love if you're not loving yourself, period. I mean,
Yep.
I was a person who firmly believed nobody loved me as much as I loved them, and that I felt very much on the periphery of all my relationships. The other side to that is I designed my relationships like that because it kept
Yeah.
me, safe. Like, you're not looking at me. That freaking paradox of I want desperately to be seen and yet I'm terrified of being seen. It
Yep.
wasn't until somebody called me out and hit me in a spot that nobody had ever actually been able to uncover, and it pissed me off so bad. But I was like, ooh, I don't like this feeling. Like, I was growing, so I sat with it, but I was like, I want to throw up. I feel like you're like looking right through me, and I hate that because I had worked really hard subconsciously, but it became conscious. All of a sudden I could see all the things I had done to try to hide this part of myself. And it was like, oh, okay, of course nobody's seen you because you've been hiding. But now I believe the only real love that exists is the one you cultivate within, and then you can like share that with others. And it
Yeah.
wasn't until I like really worked on filling myself up with love, compassion, and unconditional regard that I was able to share that with others. Like, now I'll still catch a judgmental thought coming in my brain, but I'm like, oh, why was that my initial reaction? And if that's my judgment, what am I judging in myself? Because I don't believe that we have those judgments for no reason. So I've
Absolutely.
just learned
Yep.
to get really curious about them.
Yep. Yeah, our judgments are there to keep us from feeling whatever it is we're afraid they're about to receive or what we're going to receive if we're associated from them with them, right? So we're like
Mm-hmm.
the judgment is just a wall, just to cause some separation. And so if we bring this actually back to us and our own feelings, one of the very first things that we can do to help ourselves deepen in this process of feeling our own feelings is to check our judgments of our feelings, how much we're feeling, and why we're feeling things. Because that judgment is going to keep you from feeling safe to feel it every single time. It's going to stop you in your tracks. So we notice our judgments toward other people a lot faster because they're more in our face. And I think our judgments of our emotions and how much we're feeling and again why we're feeling them or what it says about us that we're feeling them, right? Those are more subtle. Those appear more. Sometimes it's not a thought in your head. Sometimes it's a sinking feeling. It's just looking for the exits. You're not even aware that you're having judgment of yourself. You're just deeply uncomfortable. And so, really practicing looking at, if I'm trying to rush myself through this feeling, if I'm trying to look for who's responsible, if I'm continuing to circle around in my head and fight with this person, even though they've been gone for 45 minutes and I'm
Yeah.
by myself, right?
I used to be me. It was awful.
Right? Well, and I think in any moment, we as human beings, when you get challenged and you're up to your eyeballs, everybody resorts to that again.
Yeah.
So just like, how can you just catch it and just go, oh, human, oh, wow, we're swirling again. Where are we
Uh-huh.
hurting? Right? And come back, check our judgments and look for, where am I making myself wrong? Where am I
Mm-hmm.
dehumanizing or demonizing the other person? Where can I just zoom out and go, we're both people, we're both reacting to our pain in moments, we both have blind spots. What's here for me to own? Where am I asked for to be speaking up for myself, to own my stuff, to be more honest? Where am I needing to set a boundary? Right? Where am I needing to love myself more? Where am I needing to resolve and heal this judgment that I have of myself? So we're always being invited to grow in like everything that we come in contact with in our life, but we don't recognize it because we get so caught up on the other
Oh,
person.
sure.
So
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a huge part of my work is just turning the lens around and going, your work is with you always. And I love,
Yes.
Melissa, it seems like you've got this, like you know this. It's like
Mm-hmm.
when we return to ourselves and we stop looking at the other person, we finally have a moment to actually be able to affect change in our life. When we continue to
Absolutely.
stay focused on them, we spin our wheels forever, and then we wonder why we haven't healed the thing. It's because you're still looking at them. You have to stop looking at
Right.
them and come back to you.
Which
Yeah.
now feels preposterous. Like, I can't believe I spent so much time in my life. Like, I've been married, oh, fuck, since 2012. I can't do the math. Every time I'm
Yep.
like, oh shit, how many years is that? But this is
Yep.
my second marriage. And after that first year, I'm right back in the same mindset I was with the first husband. And just constantly shit bitching and you this and you that and you're not meeting my needs. All of the things. And honestly, it was astrology that really like gave me this awakening, because one day it said, it's time to address the dissatisfaction in your life. And I was like, ooh, gross. And then about 2 weeks later, my horoscope said, just check in on how you manage when people don't meet your expectations. And all I had to do was read it, and I was like, shots fired, because I knew expectations were the center of the dissatisfaction in my life. I'm over here looking at everyone in my life and going, you're not this, and I need this, instead of turning it around on me and going, how am I showing up for myself, with these people? What are my expectations? Why am I so sure that the things I expect can be equated to a need for my survival? Like, just really digging into that stuff. And like, once I realized that, and that we really are all just a mirror for each other, um I it I really believe it made me like a fucking great therapist, because when people come in, I'm like, I like the way you put it when you said zoom out, and I think that's so important. But I also love what you didn't say, which is it's also okay to stay zoomed in, as long as like you're processing that you don't have to rush to jump to bypass the really uncomfortable part of that, because it is pain that will help you grow. And so while you're sitting in that and you're letting your brain spin and do all the things that are just fucking terrible for you, that's okay. And I'll sit with you and I'll be like, okay, yeah, I'll validate, cuz like, yeah, your mom is a bitch. Like, absolutely, what she did was shitty. And here's the thing, not everybody would have gotten upset by that. So what is it? What's it hitting in you? What's stirring up? What are you not addressing? Where's your value and your worth here? Because I don't know, that if someone said that to me at this point, I just wouldn't be this affected anymore, because this is the way I would view that. Just shit like that, because there's space for both perspectives. But I think that we're doing people a giant disservice by allowing them to stay just with that singular focus of like, well, victimhood. And that was the thing that I had to realize, that despite the bravado of my entire life being like, I'm not a victim to my circumstances, realizing that I had created a victim out of myself in every one of those scenarios because I didn't have control over everybody else in the world. And so, everything's just happening to me, poor me. None of that was conscious. I had no idea I was covered in shame or felt like a victim in my, life. None of that. I didn't see any of it. It was all just like little things that I uncovered here and there. But it's so true and it's important. And you're the only one you can fix, and this is your experience. It's not their experience. Like, if they're that toxic, then get the fuck out. Like, who cares? But where are you toxic? Because baby, I was the problem. I was the problem.
I think it's so important what you're saying, just this normalization that all of us create dissonance in our life. It's such an important thing to remember. Like every single one of us, like you were talking about your marriages, we bring ourselves from our last experience into our next one.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we don't look at ourselves, we do have repeat patterns. And so I love your awareness that you're like, oh my gosh, I'm doing the same thing. Let me look at me. But I think where this gets tricky and where we as humans have a hard time juggling this in relationship is we go, if I'm always returning to me, then whatever you do is okay. And I just need to look at myself. And the truth is, there is this dance where we go, I deserve to be honored. I deserve to be celebrated for who I am.
Mm-hmm.
I deserve to be treated well. And so there is this dance when it comes to two people, and this isn't just romantic relationship, this is friendships, this is professional relationships, this is every relationship in your life. There is this delicate dance that all of us do, and only you know how to do it, where you
Mm-hmm.
go, what is the balance here? How much space can I hold for your humanity, knowing your level of awareness, what you're working on, how much you love me, the way that we're able to repair after we have a hard time? How much can I hold space with all of that? And how do I deserve to be treated? And how are my
Yes.
needs not getting met here? And those two things have to be in balance in order for us to stay in a relationship in a healthy way. And so the thing I always love to bring people to is in relationship, one of the biggest myths that we have all bought into on some level is if I'm expressing a feeling or need to you and you hear it, and then you express a feeling or need to me, the greater feeling or need wins,
Oh
and
yeah.
the one that didn't win goes away.
Mm-hmm.
All of us do this.
And by
For
when, you must meet the need. I expressed it, so now it's your job to meet it.
right. And so your need, because you probably have a need, like the other person probably has a need that's competing, then goes away because the person just won and it seems like theirs is more important. So it's like we have this habit in relationships of kind of caretaking one person and really abandoning the other and encouraging people to abandon themselves if they
Yes.
see like, oh shoot, like yeah, I guess I'm not doing what I could be doing in this situation. So the thing that is so challenging is for us to expand our ability as people in relationship to go, I can express where I'm coming from, what I'm needing, and how I'm feeling. And I can put that on the table. And then I can take a deep breath. And I can open up more space on the table for you now to say how you're feeling and what you're needing. And then we both, after that happens, get to take a breath and hold both at the same time.
Yes.
Neither one of them needs to go away. But
Right.
then usually this is where we go, wow, now everybody has all of the information. And now we probably need to take a pause and go feel what we need to feel before we move forward, because I'm going to bet everybody's got feelings and it's
Yeah.
probably not a productive time, right?
Right.
So, like,
Right.
taking a break. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
So,
I really sucked at all of this before because A, my Leo moon ass made me believe that my feelings were more important. Like my experience was worse is how I felt it. Like any scheduling conflicts or like if I felt just overwhelmed and whatever, like you're not doing enough. Um he would offer what his experience was, and I'm like, right, mine's somehow worse, so my needs are more important here. I'm gonna need you to meet those needs, and he's over here avoidant as fuck. Like, no, I don't think so. And then yesterday was the first time we've had this scenario come up in quite some time, But well, I used to fight for justice. Okay, so like if we were fighting, it was going to be fair. So if you did something that I can't really get back at you for, I'm going to choose to hold on to the rage that I feel for as many years as it takes. I'm so serious. I cannot believe we're still married. I mean, truly, because I was not nice. I was not nice. And, if he wasn't so avoidant, he probably wouldn't stay married to me, but like he can forget really quickly. But I was so mean because I'd be like, "Oh, no, no, no. Well, I have to punish you because that's the only way this is going to be fair because I can't do anything else to like feel equal playing ground." But yesterday, we got into a little bit of a stalemate, and oh, I was fucking pissed, but it was my first time to really practice this. But I I asked him when he was going to reconsider getting a storage unit because he and my sweet daughter have huge loss wounds, and it makes them hold on to shit for far too long. And we just did a huge room clean out for her with me promising I would not get rid of any of the things that she took out of her room until she was ready because I don't want to make it worse. I want to work through this with her. Unfortunately, he is not, progressing in this area, so he is not getting rid of any of his shit. My husband. So they both are like this, but he's got a lot of shit in this house. And I'm like ready to get the house clean and organized. I've spent a year chilling with my family, like backing off because I used to be that nobody fucking helps me, la la la, that person. And I've just been living in filth for a year because I can't change them. I'm not going to nag them to death to do, and I didn't have the capacity to teach everyone systems that they weren't interested in learning, So I was like, you know what? No one's gonna die if the house is dirty. Great, great. But now, like, I'm like, okay, I might die. I'm done. Like, I want a clean house again. I want organization. I want to go back to the things that we used to do to keep things clean. And I enjoy cooking. I want a space to do that. Things like that. Well, so I said the thing about storage, and this is the first time he has said to me, "Honey, storage is off the table. I'm not doing it. We're not going to spend this much money per month, blah, blah, blah." The level of rage that I felt at him using the words off the table, I was like, because I'm not making enough money to pay for it myself because I'm an entrepreneur. Okay. So I'm still trying to grind on that. But so he would be the one that has to pay it. So I don't get a say in this. And I was like, did you just fucking use the words off the table with me? Like, that is so shitty. And I can recognize that I'm just triggered right now because I don't feel in control. So let me work through this. And then I was like, okay, I just don't think your language is fair. And I don't think this is fair. And I'm really pissed right now. And then I was just like, there really isn't a resolution to this, like right now. In this moment, we're not going to get, because that was the way I used to fight too, is we're going to get to the end so that I can feel better. Like that, whew, okay, that's over, moving on. There had to be a start and a finish to everything. But yesterday, I suggested a couple of things, like, okay, maybe we could do this and this. We could work together and it would be a long process, but this might, work if we were to do this. He's agreeable, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm still pretty pissed at you, but I'm a chill. And then we just kind of separated so that the energy could diffuse because it was feeling really big for me. For him, he's like, I said no, so I guess I'll just wait for your feelings to pass. But it really did piss me off really bad, but I was kind of glad for the practice because we haven't had a situation like that in a long time. So it was like, damn, I'm okay that I got really pissed off because, see, 6 months ago I would have gotten really mad at myself and ashamed myself for being messy, for even allowing the argument to get tense, or because you're supposed to be perfect, Claire. That's what I thought healing was for so
Yeah.
long, that I was
Mm.
gonna never lose my temper and never say snarky shit to my husband. Or no, I do all those things sometimes. Sometimes I do. The
You're a
difference is
human.
now that I can still fucking love myself even whenever I act like an asshole.
This brings up such a good point, Melissa, because there is this box that we put ourselves in that goes, spiritual people don't get mad. And the truth is, spiritual people are connected to their authenticity. That's
Mm-hmm.
what it is. And everyone gets mad in moments. And so can we just break down anger here for a minute? And this actually brings us back to the very, very, very beginning when you asked me how I bring the why to this
Yeah.
this whole experience of spiritual awakening. So, one of the biggest things that we have to learn if we're going to continue to grow from everything that happens to us in our life is we have to learn the difference between the two different kinds of emotional experiences that we have. One of them is tender feeling. Tender feeling is where all of the healing lies. It's where you grow your self knowledge, where you grow your self love, where you deepen your understanding of yourself, where you grow your resilience, where you grow your presence with your own feelings. That's where we want to hang out. But the truth is, not all of our experiences are tender feeling. The other
Mm-hmm.
camp is resistance to tender emotion. So, in that category is anger. In that category is blame, judgment, apathy, numbness. What else? Anxiety, anything, irritation, all the Asian words,
Yeah.
exasperation, irritation, frustration, agitation, right? All of those are in that. So, what we need to know is that every single time, there are no exceptions to this, every single time you have resistant feelings coming up, there is always a tender feeling underneath, always. And so, if we want to get to the healing when we get pissed off, you're a human, you're going to get pissed off. I'm so
Mm-hmm.
glad that you're normalizing that. Allowing that to be part of your experience without shame is such a big deal. So, good for you for doing that. So, now the next step is to go, I got angry. If I'm feeling rage, I really care about what's happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
There's a part of me that deeply needs something different here. We don't get mad about stuff we don't care about. So
Right.
thank God we've got our anger to let us know, human pause, you really care. Slow down. This needs your attention. Okay. So we're grateful for anger. But the thing we don't know is that if we stay in anger for too long, all we do is kick up more and we're going to keep the resistance active. And that just drains our energy. It wastes our time and our energy and causes fracture in relationships. So, when you feel your anger, name it. If you need to scream, if you need to like punch a pillow, if you need to go like run, do whatever you need to move that hot, fast energy through your body. But as you're doing that, keep one eye focused on where is this coming from? My heart hurts somewhere.
Yeah.
So, listening to the story from you yesterday, Melissa, I'm wondering it's like if you look for a tender thing underneath that rage, if I put myself in your shoes, I'm just going to throw out some things and you see if any of them
Yeah.
resonate. I would feel not considered. There might be a part of me that feels like I'm not important if I'm being told a choice instead of being asked to collaborate on a choice, right? So there
Yeah.
might be some diminishment. Um, we might not feel free, like we might feel a little bit trapped because we're not being given an option. We're being told what's going to happen.
Definitely
There
felt
might just
trapped.
be
Yeah.
right? So there might just be some level of, I want you to value my opinion. I'm not feeling valuable because you didn't ask me for my opinion. Does any of that resonate?
Definitely the trapped. I mean, probably if I were to, I don't feel like I necessarily bypassed, but whenever a feeling like I'm not being considered comes up, it's kind of easy for me to work through that quickly because I don't believe that anything this man does has shit to do with me. You know, like that's the understanding that I've come to is that his shit's about him and my shit's about me, and we don't react to one another because of each other. We react because of ourselves. And so,
Yep.
but I definitely felt trapped, like
Yep.
real claustrophobic because I felt trapped in the conversation because where am I going to go now? You just fucking laid down the hammer, and
Yep.
felt trapped in this relationship. Like, okay, so not only am I like married to somebody who is completely disorganized and won't even like take my advice for how to get organized and like even like come help me clean. Okay, so when we clean, this is the steps so that we can get it done more efficiently because his ADHD ass will pick up something, walk to another room and start, that thing. And I'm like, oh, honey, this works better. Let's do it this way. And he's like, you know, and I'm like, oh, okay, so great. So this, and this. So if I allow myself to do that, then I just feel really trapped and stuck. Like, okay, then I feel like sometimes the only way to overcome some of that is like, okay, well, I can't change him. So I guess this is another thing I just have to succumb to sometimes. That's how, like, it's very victim-y and it feels kind of gross to say out loud, but like, yeah, sometimes I'm like, okay, so just another thing I get to concede on because I'm not going to give this my energy. And there have been lots of things like that that I feel fine with that being the attitude about. And then there's some things that I'm like, I think you're avoiding, like, because I don't want to. I've always been the person who was simultaneously creating, some victimness in myself, but also trying very hard to figure out how I was the problem so that I didn't even have to talk to somebody else about our issues because I didn't actually want to confront. I'm pretty, as loud and abrasive as I can be, I'm actually pretty non confrontational. So, like, I want to avoid conflict at all costs. Not with him, I'll fight with him all day. But, like, just in general, I don't want to be vulnerable though. I mean, that's the thing that I've been working so hard on is just to be like, well, this is where I'm at right now and it feels yucky. And then especially like my confirmation bias tells me there's no point in sharing that shit because it doesn't change anything. And no matter how many times I say it or different ways I say it, he's not going to receive it, so why even bother? That's what my brain likes to do it to me in those conversations. So mostly just stuck is how I felt, which is why I was like it, that feeling, the helpless, powerless feeling is what
I was
really
gonna
like
say,
comes
it
out.
sounds, I'm hearing dismissed. That's what it sounds
Yeah,
like also.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
So everything you just shared, Melissa, I feel like is so relatable to so many people because we do get to a point where you go, I've tried to talk about this so many times and I'm not being received, so I'm just going to give up. But when that happens, what we're doing is we're abandoning ourselves. And
Mm-hmm.
so if we can reorient it, the question that I would start with, and the question I always lead people to is, am I focused more on the solution or am I focused on connecting with my partner? Because most of the time we're focused on the solution. And the truth is, if you and your partner are going to do things together, you have to be focused on how you do things together, not the outcome of what you're doing. It's like your relationship is always more important than the thing that you're fighting about. And so in the situation, the ideal that we want to work toward, right, is you going, shoot, I have a need. That didn't go very well. Let me separate. What am I feeling? What's my tender feeling and how can I show up for that in myself? I wouldn't, you said we react to ourselves, not each other. I firmly believe that. That's true. So if you're feeling rage, if you're feeling anything because of something he's doing, you're feeling really triggered, there is a part of you that is desperately needing your attention, desperately needing for you to soften with you, for you to make space to validate your own feelings, to honor your own need, to not skip over your experience. Okay, we are entering the room as that best friend that goes, you're the most important person in the world. I love you, I believe in you, I want to know everything that you feel. We're going to talk about it, you're going to cry, I'm not going to distract you, I'm not going to make you feel like shit, I'm going to hold space for you as a person, and on the other side we're going to high five because I'm going to be so proud of you that you just felt all of that. It's like that's who we are. It's like we have ourselves. That's what we want, right?
Yeah.
For you to have your own back. So when it comes to moments like this where we're feeling dismissed by our partner or we're feeling like we're being told things are being decisions are being made for us, we want to go back and go, wow, my heart hurts because my grandfather used to talk to me like that. And
Mm-hmm.
I flash back to being a kid or whatever is coming up, right? I've been talked down to like that. I know he didn't mean to do that. I know he loves me. This isn't about making him wrong, but it's about going, where is there a part of me that's hurting here? Where can I witness that? Love myself. And then how can I connect with my partner before I try to solve this thing with him? Which can look something like, hey, sweetheart, back there, when I was trying to talk about the storage unit thing, I was really hoping we could make the decision together. And I know that this might not seem obvious, but like I want to be part of the decision. I feel like a little kid when you tell me what is going on. And I care about how you're feeling. Why did you say it's off the table? Are you feeling overwhelmed? Does that feel financially like stressful? Like how are you feeling about it? And asking about the feeling and what's happening in their heart before you go to the solution because when we feel seen, we are 8,000 times more likely to lean in and then want to make a decision together.
Yeah.
So much of the time, when we just slap down a hard boundary, it's because we are feeling something that we is so excruciating for us that we don't even want to look at it. So we're just like, nope, this is what's happening and I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. Well, and as you're saying what you just finished saying, I remembered I actually felt really proud of him for like putting his foot down about something because he's hates conflict. And so he would rather avoid and wordsmith so that it's not a direct no to something because he doesn't want my response to the no. So I actually, as pissed as I was also like, this is not necessarily how I want you to hold boundaries, but damn it, I'm glad that you fucking had one. Like, cause I want him to care more about himself and quit being such a people pleaser, you know? So like that
Totally.
was there and it was present and it was competing for sure with, my indignation, but it was also like it was nice. It was like a connection point because I was like, well, first of all, I continue to tell this man that if he will be honest, I will provide safety for the honesty. So I am committed to that above all. Am I great at it? No, but I'm committed to it. I'm committed to growing in this area where I will be safe for him to be honest with. And in the moment, that was the way his truth had to come out. He apparently, had to work up the nerve and just be like, because it's been like a year of maybe, or, da 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 da. You're just brushing it off nicely, but not coming right out and saying like it's not something I want to spend $400 a month on. Well, okay. Well, if you had said that a year ago, my expectation wouldn't still be that we're waiting on something to go do this. So it was a lot of different things. And you're right. I saw him lighten up and loosen just with a couple of questions, like after the initial dust up. And the same thing happens to me on the occasion that he asks me clarifying questions. You're right. I completely melt then because we're not adversaries then. We're working together here to accomplish something. Like that's the thing. We both want a cleaner house. We want organization. We He wants me to be happy. He's my number one fan, literally. So it's not that any of the things he's doing is trying to communicate to me how he values himself over me, but this man has a real scarcity mindset sometimes about what you should and shouldn't spend your money on. And we have very different opinions about whether or not a storage unit is worth our money. So, yeah, I definitely noticed him shift whenever, I decided, okay, the only way to not be pissed about this anymore is just to like move on for now and then ask a couple of questions. We're jiving then because neither one of us are like feeling like we're in opposition with one another, you know?
Totally. And I'm glad that you guys can get into that level of curiosity with one another. I think if I'm just going to challenge you just a tiny little bit more,
Yeah.
Melissa, because this is where we can get into even deeper healing. So the rage feeling that you had that came up is a really powerful thing. And when we decide, I can just be okay with this, I can see what's happening with him, so I can move on. What we've just done is we've taken all of that energy that was generated from that experience, we've rationalized it, and we've pushed it away.
Hmm.
None of that was alchemized. And so, do we do that in moments as human? Yeah, yeah, we do. That's like a part of the human experience. But the invitation, if you want to alchemize that energy, is to go, this has nothing to do with him and whether or not he's valid. I am proud of him for the way that he showed up. He is really growing as a human being. I am so grateful for the way that we were able to come together. And there's a part of me that probably felt small back there. There's a part of me that didn't feel seen, that didn't feel heard,
Hmm.
that didn't feel honored. And that's about me with me. And so if I go back, I encourage people to put themselves back in the situation,
Hmm.
like write about it, talk it out loud, and really practice. This is where I have visual exercises for people. I lead people through mirror work, but this is where we want to connect into our own humanity because it's really easy, like we were talking about in the beginning, to go, no, I can see what happened for him, so my needs go away.
Hmm.
His need won here. And it's okay. We're moving forward. It's fine. My need doesn't need to be part of this. Yeah, it does. Our
Yeah,
needs don't go
yeah,
away, and it's going to
yeah.
resurface. It's going to come up
No,
again in a different way,
absolutely. I
right?
agree. Yeah, and also, um, I felt like some of the other solutions that we came up with, since getting the storage unit isn't going to be possible, felt fine for the moment. What I actually thought was, like, at the end of the whole thing, like, I didn't want to give any more energy to it, but what I actually thought was, we might actually just be too different. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I that's the way I felt at the end of it, which was, I need to consider this relationship in its entirety, which isn't going to be done right now. You know what I mean? Like, I feel guilty saying that because I know he listens to my show. It's not something I wouldn't not say to his face, because I would. But, like, because oftentimes so much of me trying to let things go or whatever is like trying not to be too much, probably, you know. But there's like, I think the conversation I have with myself all the time is, it's okay if I ever reach a point that this relationship just isn't working for me, that I don't have to stay in this relationship. And I think that was a lot of the shit that really made me feel stuck before, was, you have to, because you have kids, you have this, you have this, you have this, you have this. So, like, it was more something that I said, I don't know about this right now. I'm not, like, I don't feel 100% sure that this is where I need to be right now. That's how I felt. That's how I feel still today. I mean, not because just of that, like, it's shit like that all the time, you know, but I just didn't want to give it any more power, because it's internal work that I have to do on my own. Like, it, well, there was no more like conversation to be had. Does that make sense?
Totally. No, it does. And Melissa, I'm not saying that anything needs to change with him. What I'm saying is, when we have big things like this, where we're at odds with someone we love, and then we move on from it and we realize, I am still thinking about that conversation. There is still a part of me that feels a little bit pissed off about that. Like, there is a part of me that's chewing on it still. That's our indication that there's energy left over from that interaction that hasn't metabolized. And your body's going, you could still move this through. You're still a little triggered. You're still a little agitated. You're still questioning your worth. You're still rationalizing it. It's just your body's indication that there's just something left over. It's not that you did anything wrong. It's not that you
Right.
came to the wrong solution. It's just going, there's just a little part of you that needs your attention. And so, in this work, when I talk about shifting from the other person to ourselves, it's literally going, all right, I'm replaying that conversation in my head. So part of me needs my attention. If I look back at that version of me back there that was in that room having that conversation, and I walk in and I look at her, I don't want to look at him. I don't want to look at the house. I don't want to look at anything we were fighting about. I want to look at her. What was her facial expression? What is she feeling? What is she not willing to look at? Where is she abandoning herself? We're not focused on the other people. We're going, what did my human need back there? How did she feel? And how can I hold space for her? How can I witness what is going on in her so that the energy that she was feeling back there, that she's still feeling in this moment, because I'm still swirling about it in my brain, if I can witness it, if I can let her cry, if I can hold space for her and let her melt, she's going to metabolize all that energy and she's not going to carry it with her in the future. She's not going
Yeah.
to be thinking about this 4 months from now. It's going to be gone. And she's going to be softer with her partner next time, clearer about her boundaries, and probably have more curiosity and more willingness to participate in that kind of conversation in a different way without the same amount of rage. So it's like,
Well, and what do you think
there's nothing
about
wrong.
doing that, even just as a check-in? Like, what, you know, like, if you have a really tense conversation with someone and it's over and you've moved on or whatever, what do you think about even this as just like almost hygiene, where you know, like
Oh,
a
it is
check-in?
hygiene.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but like, like,
100%.
whether you feel like it's completely resolved or not, like, just to like, 'cause that's, I really like to do that. I like to look back and go, I didn't, I didn't get to that feeling that I really want to be in. So, is there something I could have done or been different in that moment? I like to reflect like that. What do you think about that just like as a regular practice?
It's interesting that you bring this in because this kind of work I first started doing intuitively just for me back in 2019. I would just get in the car at the end of a workday and I had a 25-minute commute. So I would literally turn on the voice recorder on my phone and just start processing the day. And I still have the first voice recording that I made.
I love
And
that.
I started off with like, I don't really know why I'm doing this, but I'm feeling really uncomfortable in my body. And I feel like if I talk about it out loud, it's going to help me figure it out. So I literally started talking about the sensation that I have in my body. Like literally, I had a knot in my stomach. I felt kind of like cotton. That's how I describe it when you feel so full up to your eyeballs that you're almost numb. Um, and then as I was describing that, feelings started to come up. And then I started describing the feelings. And then I realized what they were coming from during the day. And I just let myself cry. And so, in this way, if you do have a commute, if you have a chunk of time, I always encourage people if you're going to go do something that you know is going to be triggering or uncomfortable for you, like carve out 20 minutes, half an hour after that, where it's just you with you in the car or somewhere where you can speak openly, talk it through into a voice recorder or just with yourself and process it so that you're not carrying that energy with you to the next thing.
I
This is an
love that.
incredible way to have hygiene. But again, as we're processing, you have to be really aware. Am I just detecting resistance? Like, am I going, yeah, I feel angry, period.
Right.
And you're not looking further than that?
Yeah.
Because if you're stuck in resistance, if you have any charge, blame, judgment in your body, you haven't gotten to the healing and you're not moving the energy through.
Yeah.
You have to get to the tender feeling and then you have to witness it in order to metabolize the energy. So, as we're talking out loud, we're
Amazing.
always looking for the tender feeling.
Yes, because I'm always trying to tell people resistance keeps us stuck, but I love the way you're
Yep.
defining resistance because
Yep.
so much, you know how like you said you learned things intuitively? Me too. So I know that when I learn something, I'm not the first person who's ever thought this, felt this, known it, seen it, experienced it, but I don't
Yeah.
always know where the hell it came from or what it was rooted in, like what's the theory, what's the whatever. You know what I'm saying? So like
Yep.
I will just learn something and I can't always put a vocabulary to it to help somebody else understand it at the deepest level. And so I love the way you have really defined these categories because it's very simple. Like if you're here, you're not here and here's where you want to
Yep.
be. Because I'm always saying and I read you say this similarly in your profile. I'm always saying if you're not in your head, you're not in your heart. Or if you're in your
Yep.
head, you're not in your heart. And
Right.
and
Yep.
it took so long for me to understand the way I was intellectualizing all of my experiences instead of
Yep.
experiencing them and having
Well,
feelings.
and even that is such a deepening. Like that's something that just we continue to grow our awareness of where we are still. Everybody rationalizes when they get really challenged.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody will start looking for the exits, including myself. We're people. It's part of our protection mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
So it's giving ourselves permission to have that behavior, to notice it and go, oh, human, you're hurting. If you're in your head and you're arguing and you're trying to figure this out, you're hurting. So let me just stop. Let me look for the tender feeling. And you know what's really great about this is early on in my practice, I started offering my intuitive emotional healing framework to people professionally in 2021. And one of my early clients, I was talking to her about these two different categories of emotion and how we get to them by starting with the story and moving through our belief. And she was like, Claire, I need a visual. Like, I can't do this with you just talking about it. So I actually came up with a color coded flow chart that brings us from the thought we're thinking, that's red, through the belief, which is the layer underneath, that's orange, into the resistant feeling, which is you protecting yourself, that's the yellow band, down into tender feeling, which is blue. And when we get into the blue band, all of those tender feelings are listed there for you. So when you look at it, you go, oh, yep, I'm feeling grief. I'm feeling dismissed. I'm feeling abandoned. I'm feeling small. You get all of them right there. You
Mm-hmm.
have this ability to then hold space for yourself, witness it. And the very bottom band is purple. And when we move through that blue band, that tender feeling, and we actually alchemize the energy, where we end up is down in the purple band, which is where we have more love, more connection, and a restored sense of safety in our system. That's where
Hmm.
we want to live from every day, is from a place of love, safety, and connection. And the only reason that we get triggered is because we are afraid we're going to lose one of those, or we are losing one of those. And so when we become aware of this, and you see it laid out in this flow chart, it makes it so much easier to be able to navigate
Yeah,
through it. I call it the layers of feeling. It's one of the things that I have in my community for my folks to help them make sense of this process.
I love it. Oh my gosh. I really love your framework. I love the work you're doing. I'm so glad I got to meet you. Like legitimately. I don't know if I just didn't see the like a message that I saw the initial, obviously you asking to come on and me accepting, but when I went today to change the link, I saw a message and I was like, did I like see that and think I would respond later? Like, because it was such a genuine message that it's not something I would like purposely ignore. So just
Yeah.
wanted you to know I didn't purposely ignore it. I don't know what
Yeah.
happened.
Thank
I
you.
probably
Yeah.
like was like, oh, I'll read that later.
Yep.
But I have loved having you on. Before we go, is there any final words, anything you feel like you didn't get to touch on, anything at all?
I just, my closing take home for everyone is to just remember that you are a person just like everybody else. Every single human is walking around holding so much pain, and we can't see how much pain other people are holding. And when you look out at the world and you see all of the different behaviors, you see the people pleasing, you see the violence, you see the anger, you see the blame, you see people controlling things, you see people deflecting with humor. All of that, all of those different behaviors are just people pushing away their pain. That's it. Anybody who numbs with food or sex or exercise, they're just pushing their pain away. That's all. And so we don't like to think of people pleasing as being in the same camp as people hurting each other. But the truth is, they're both the same thing. They're both a hurt human not knowing how to hold their pain. So when we just remember this, it doesn't mean that we excuse behavior. It doesn't mean we allow ourselves to receive abuse. It doesn't mean that we enable each other. But what it does mean is it goes, when I act in a way that I'm not proud of, can I just remember that I'm a human and that everybody does this in some way?
Mm-hmm.
And if I can hold a little more compassion and understanding for my ways that I create my own dissonance and my own friction, and I can just offer my human a little bit more permission to be a person, not make it wrong, catch my judgment, and then learn to feel my feeling, what's going to happen is I'm going to start to dissolve that behavior that I don't like that I do in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
That puffing up that I do, that people pleasing that I do, that numbing out that I do, that blaming that I do, that controlling that I do, whatever it is that I wish I didn't do, that behavior is going to melt the kinder I am to myself and the more willing I am to feel my feeling, because I'm not going to be trying to run from my feeling anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And as that happens, our relationships heal. We have less judgments of other people. We have more space for other people, as we were talking about earlier. So, this really does come back to us looking for our own humanity. I would encourage you to start doing this in the mirror. Look in your own eyes. Look at that human who's looking back at you and go, can I start to look at you, human, and recognize your value? Recognize where you're trying, where you are authentically beautiful, loving, generous, kind, funny, endearing out in the world? Can I just start to recognize you in a 360-degree kind of way? Still going to hold you accountable. We're still going to, continue to try to grow. We're still going to own our stuff with other people. But can I also celebrate you where you authentically deserve some credit for being a good human being walking the planet? Because if I can start doing that and I can start looking at myself in a more holistic way, I'm just going to have more love for myself, and this whole process is going to get easier, and I'm actually going to heal a lot faster. So look for your own humanity, connect in with it, and this is all going to get easier.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you so much. I'm serious. I've loved this conversation. It's my heart is very happy. And I just
Yeah, thank you for
appreciate you
having me
so
on,
much.
Melissa. Yeah, I appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
I hope you have a terrific Tuesday. Is today Tuesday? Yes,
Today's
okay.
Tuesday.
All right.
Thanks, you
Mercury's
too.
in retrograde, Claire. Okay,
There you go.
I'm gonna stop recording. Thanks for coming to Emotionally Unavailable. If you haven't already, like, subscribe, and share.